I'm so glad you're here.
I somehow forgot to say it, but it's time for a
Side quest! Since you can make paper using scrap paper, I figured there are other paper-based materials that we could try making into new paper. I do a lot of sewing on this channel, which means I make and use a lot of sewing patterns, and when I cut out the sewing patterns, there's just a bunch of that paper left over, so I've been collecting it in this bag, and I think I have enough to try this out. Now, it is very thin like tissue paper, and I don't know if the paper that we make out of it is going to be just as thin, but I guess we'll just have to find out.
Fetching the old all-purpose bin, I prepped the paper for a bath, and once it soaked up the water and looked like a lovely clump of kelp, I started blending it all together, and because I've learned I really enjoy paper making, I recently invested in a new set of screens. I filled the screen, not too much, not too little, then flipped it onto a table to sponge out the excess water. Did this again and again and again until the pulp was too thin to make another page. I strained out whatever pulp was left floating around in there and pushed it into some resin molds to put it to good use, and then set everything out to dry overnight. Once it was all dry, I ironed out the very wiggly pages so that they'd sit flat, divided the pile of tiny pages in two, and started binding them into a book. As the pages are made from sewing patterns, I decided to go with a sewing theme. I took an old vintage pattern envelope and used it to line the front and back cover panels. This book is so darn cute, like a little sewing notebook for a borrower or a fairy. Love it so much. So this was definitely a successful side quest.